It's 8 a.m. on a foggy November morning in Atlanta, 2025, and the Harmony Clinic buzzes with the quiet hum of life. Patients sit in crisp white chairs, their coughs and soft chatter filling the air, while the faint beep of medical equipment punctuates the space. Dr. Tanisha James, 44, a black nurse practitioner with a warm, steady smile, steps through the glass doors, her blue scrubs neatly pressed, stethoscope swinging lightly around her neck. She's the heartbeat of this place. She founded it 5 years ago, investing her life savings to build a clinic for underserved folks in her old neighborhood. Today, she's here to launch a new diabetic care program, her chart bag slung over her shoulder, ready to make a difference. But as she crosses the lobby toward her office, the atmosphere shifts, thick with tension. Administrator Paul Rutherford, 55, a wiry white man with a pinched face and a clipboard clutched like a weapon, steps into her path. His eyes narrow, and he grabs a janitor's bucket of cold disinfectant from a cart nearby. "You're done here," he snaps, his voice cutting like a blade. "Patients say you're too pushy with your advice. Leave now." Before Tanisha can respond, he swings the bucket, splashing the icy liquid over her. It soaks her scrubs, streams down her face, and pools on the tiled floor in a glistening mess. Her chart bag slips from her shoulder, papers fluttering to the ground like fallen leaves, as a collective gasp rises from the waiting room. Tanisha stands frozen, water dripping from her braids, her breath catching in her throat. Memories flood back. Once, as a 28-year-old nurse, she was accused of overstepping when she saved a patient from a botched procedure, nearly costing her license. Another time, a supervisor labeled her too emotional for pushing for better care for poor patients, sidelining her for months. Now, in the clinic she built with her own hands, it's happening again. But she doesn't scream or collapse. She straightens up, wiping her eyes with a wet sleeve, her voice firm and clear. "I'm Dr. Tanisha James, the owner of this clinic. You can't kick me out." Paul lets out a sharp, mocking laugh that bounces off the sterile walls. "Owner? That's a good one. You're just a nurse who scrubs floors around here. Get out, or I'll call security to drag you out myself." He nods to a guard, mid-40s, with a broad build and a stern look, who steps forward, his hand resting on his belt, radio crackling. The room buzzes with whispers and shock murmurs, phones rising to capture the scene. A patient, MRS. Elena Cruz, 62, a regular with arthritis, struggles to her feet, her cane wobbling as she points at Paul. "She's our doctor. She saved my leg from amputation," she protests, her voice trembling but loud. Paul waves her off with a dismissive flick of his hand, his smirk widening as if he's won. "This is your moment to join the fight." Have you ever been pushed out of your own space when you knew your worth? Hit that like button if you felt this burn, drop a comment below with your story, and subscribe to the channel for more incredible comebacks. We're just getting started, and the turnaround is coming. Don't you dare miss it. Tanisha steps back, her soaked shoes squeaking on the wet tiles, leaving faint footprints. Her phone vibrates in her pocket. A text from her head nurse, Lucy, pops up. "He's been cutting staff hours and hiding patient complaints. I've got photos to prove it." Tanisha's heart skips a beat, a spark of hope igniting. She pulls the phone out, her wet fingers slipping slightly, and dials the state health board, her voice low but steady. "Shut this clinic down immediately. Now!" Inside, the overhead lights flicker, a low hum cutting off mid-beep, plunging the room into a brief dimness. Patients frown and shift in their seats as Paul barks. "Just a power glitch." Everyone, stay seated and calm down. But Tanisha knows it's no accident. It's the start of her counterattack. The camera zooms in on her wet face, fierce and determined beneath the clinic's glowing sign, as the screen cuts to black with a pulsing heartbeat sound. The battle has just begun, and the stakes are higher than ever. the Harmony Clinic plunges into a tense hush at 8:05 a.m. on that foggy November morning in Atlanta, 2025. The overhead lights flicker erratically, casting jagged shadows across the waiting room where 50 patients sit, their murmurs rising like a restless tide. The State Health Board shutdown order has kicked in, triggered by Dr. Tanisha James' call, and the air feels heavy with uncertainty. Administrator Paul Rutherford, 55, stands near the reception desk, his wiry frame tense, clipboard trembling as he barks orders. Keep them seated. It's just a power surge, he insists, but his voice wavers, betraying his panic. The guard, mid-40s with a broad build, paces by the door, his radio crackling with static, unable to reach backup. Outside, Tanisha James, 44, huddles under the clinic's awning, her blue scrub soaked and clinging to her skin, water still dripping from her braids. The cold fog wraps around her, but her focus burns bright. Her phone glows with a text from Lucy, her head nurse. Meet me at the back. I've got proof, staff cuts fake records. Tanisha's heart races. She slips around the building, her wet shoes squelching on the pavement, and finds Lucy, 38, a stout black woman with tired eyes, waiting by the staff entrance. Lucy thrusts a folder into her hands, photos of empty supply shelves, time cards with erased hours, and a memo from Paul ordering staff to hide patient complaints. This has been going on for months, Lucy whispers, glancing back. He's been pocketing the savings. I overheard him bragging to the guard. Tanisha flips through the pages, her anger simmering. She recalls the late nights she spent securing grants, the patients she fought to treat, the time a hospital fired her for reporting unsafe conditions. This clinic was her lifeline. Now it's under attack. We need more, she says, her voice steady. Lucy nods. I'll get the night crew. They're with us. Inside, the tension spikes. MRS. Elena Cruz, 62, a patient with arthritis, stands again, her cane tapping the floor. Where's Dr. James? She's the only one who listens, she demands. Paul sneers. She's gone, caused this mess. But a young nurse, Tamara, 29, steps forward, her scrub stained from a rushed shift. She's the owner. I saw her sign the lease. The room buzzes, patients nodding. Paul's face reddens. Lies. Sit down. The guard moves toward Tamara, but she stands firm. Outside, Tanisha and Lucy meet 3 night staff, Jamal, 35, a quiet orderly, Shirley, 50, a veteran receptionist, and Kevin, 27, a tech, huddled by the dumpster. Jamal hands her a USB drive. Security footage. Paul dumping meds to cut costs. He says. Shirley adds. He threatened us to stay quiet. Kevin points to the drive. It's got dates, times, everything. Tanisha's eyes widen. This is gold. She plugs it into her phone, watching a clip, Paul tossing expired insulin into a bin, laughing with the guard. Her stomach turns, but her resolve hardens. A car pulls up. A health inspector, 40s, steps out, badge flashing. Dr. James? We got your call. Shutdown's active. Show me the issues. Tanisha hands over the folder and USB. Start with the supply room. You'll see. The inspector nods, heading inside. Tanisha follows, her wet clothes leaving a trail. Inside, Paul spots her and freezes. You're trespassing, he shouts. The inspector cuts him off. Not if she owns this place. Let's check. The camera pans to the supply room. Empty shelves, moldy bandages, a trash bin overflowing with meds. Patients gasp as the inspector takes notes. Tamara whispers to Elena. She's fighting for us. Paul stammers. This is staged, but the evidence mounts. Tanisha stands tall, water-streaked but fierce, as the inspector radios for backup. The screen cuts to black with a rising heartbeat, teasing the showdown. The fight's heating up, and Tanisha's not backing down. The Harmony Clinic trembles with tension at 8:15 a.m. on that foggy November morning in Atlanta, 2025. The waiting room, dimly lit by flickering emergency lights, holds 50 patients in a restless hush, their eyes darting between the health inspector, 40s, with a stern jaw and clipboard, and Administrator Paul Rutherford, 55, whose wiry frame shakes as he paces. The inspector, flanked by 2 assistants in white coats, moves through the supply room, his flashlight revealing empty shelves, moldy bandages, and a trash bin overflowing with expired meds. "This is a health hazard," he declares, his voice cutting through the murmurs. Paul lunges forward, his face red. "This is a setup. Dr. James is behind it." But the inspector holds up a hand. "We'll see. Where's the owner?" Outside, Dr. Tanisha James, 44, stands with her team, Lucy, 38, the head nurse, Jamal, 35, the orderly, Shirley, 50, the receptionist, Kevin, 27, the tech, and Tamara, 29, a young nurse, huddled near the back entrance. Her blue scrubs are still soaked, water dripping from her braids, but her eyes burn with determination. The USB drive and folder of evidence weigh in her hands, proof of Paul's cuts and cover-ups. "They're inside," Lucy whispers. "He's losing it." Tanisha nods, recalling the nights she fought for this clinic, securing grants, treating patients for free, once sleeping in her car to meet payroll. This is her fight. Inside, the inspector calls out, "Dr. James, step forward." Tanisha enters, her white shoes squeaking, the crowd parting. MRS, Elena Cruz, 62, a patient with arthritis, claps weakly. "That's her. Our doctor." Paul sneers, "She's a troublemaker." But the inspector ignores him, reviewing the USB footage, Paul dumping insulin, laughing with the guard. "This is criminal neglect," the inspector says, noting dates. The room gasps. Tamara steps up. "He threatened us to hide it." Paul stammers. "Lies. She forged that." Then, a shocking twist, the inspector's radio crackles. "Back up here. Found a hidden ledger in the office. $50,000 diverted to a private account." The crowd erupts, phones flashing. Paul pales, sweating. "That's mine for expenses." Tanisha's eyes narrow. She remembers a tip from a board member months ago about missing funds. Now it's clear. The inspector turns to her. "Is this your clinic?" She nods. "Yes. I built it." The room cheers, but Paul lunges, grabbing her arm. "You can't prove it." The guard moves to help, but Jamal and Kevin block him. Shirley shouts, "She's the leaseholder." The inspector pulls out a document, Tanisha's signature, dated 5 years back. "Ownership confirmed," he says. Paul releases her, stumbling back. Tanisha steps to the center, her voice steady. "This ends now." The inspector radios again. "Seal the clinic. Full investigation." Sirens wail outside as more officials arrive, their lights flashing through the fog. Patients stand, clapping. Elena wipes a tear. "You're our hero." But Tanisha's mind races. Who tipped the ledger? A figure in the back, Dr. Harold Green, 60, a retired doctor and friend, nods subtly. He'd hinted at Paul's schemes before. Tanisha mouths, "Thank you." The camera zooms on her wet face, fierce yet grateful, as the clinic doors lock with a clang. The screen cuts to black with a rising heartbeat, teasing the next move. The battle's peaking and justice is close. The Harmony Clinic stands locked and tense at 8:25 a.m. on that foggy November morning in Atlanta, 2025. The steel doors clang shut, sealing the 50 patients, staff, and officials inside as sirens wail faintly outside. The emergency lights cast a stark glow over the waiting room, where Health Inspector, 40s, with a stern jaw, oversees the chaos, his clipboard filled with notes on the $50,000 ledger and expired meds. Administrator Paul Rutherford, 55, his wiry frame trembling, paces near the reception desk, his clipboard now a crumpled mess.
"This is illegal,"
he shouts, his voice cracking.
"You can't hold me."
The guard, mid-40s with a broad build, hovers nearby, his radio dead, looking unsure. Dr. Tanisha James, 44, steps forward, her blue scrub still soaked, water dripping from her braids onto the tiled floor. The crowd parts, eyes on her, patients, staff, and inspectors alike. Her folder and USB drive of evidence weigh in her hands, proof of Paul's neglect and theft. Dr. Harold Green, 60, a retired doctor with gray hair and a quiet presence, stands by the wall, his subtle nod from earlier now a lifeline. Tanisha recalls his warnings about Paul's shady deals. Had he planted the ledger? She files that away, focusing on the moment. The inspector turns to Paul.
"You're under scrutiny for embezzlement and endangerment. Show us your records."
Paul lunges, grabbing a chair.
"I won't!"
he yells, swinging it toward the inspector. The guard hesitates, then tackles Paul, pitting him as the chair clatters. Patients gasp, phones recording. MRS. Elena Cruz, 62, with arthritis, clutches her cane.
"Stop him!"
she cries. Tamara, 29, the young nurse, and Jamal, 35, the orderly, rush to help, holding Paul's arms. Tanisha steps closer, her voice cutting through.
"Paul, you stole from this clinic, my clinic. I built it for these people."
Paul spits back.
"You're a nurse, not a boss. I ran this place."
The inspector pulls out the lease document, Tanisha's signature bold.
"She's the owner. You're done."
The room erupts, cheers from patients, shouts from staff. Lucy, 38, the head nurse, hands Tanisha a mic.
"Tell them."
Tanisha raises it.
"I founded Harmony 5 years ago."
Paul cut staff, hid complaints, and pocketed cash. It stops now. Paul struggles. "You can't fire me."
Tanisha's eyes harden.
"Watch me. You're terminated for theft and neglect, effective immediately."
The inspector nods, cuffing Paul as backup arrives. 2 police officers, 30s, in blue uniforms.
"You're under arrest,"
one says, leading him out. The guard steps aside, defeated. But a twist, Dr. Green approaches, his voice low.
"I leaked the ledger. Couldn't let him ruin your work."
Tanisha hugs him, tears mixing with water.
"Thank you."
The crowd claps, but a new shock hits. A reporter, 40s, from a local news van outside, calls through the window.
"Dr. James, is this a racial attack?"
Tanisha pauses, then nods.
"Yes. And we're fighting back."
The camera zooms on her wet face, fierce and resolute, as flashbulbs pop. The inspector hands her the keys.
"Clinic's yours to secure."
Tanisha locks the door behind Paul, turning to her team. Shirley, 50, the receptionist, smiles.
"What's next?"
Tanisha grins.
"Rebuild."
The screen cuts to black with a triumphant beat, teasing the finale. Justice is near, but the legacy's just beginning. The Harmony Clinic glows with renewed hope at 8:40 a.m. on that foggy November morning in Atlanta, 2025. The steel doors, locked tight after Paul Rutherford's arrest, now stand as a symbol of justice, the sirens fading into the distance. Inside, the emergency lights have steadied, casting a warm light over the 50 patients and staff gathered in the waiting room. The air hums with relief and excitement as Dr. Tanisha James, 44, stands at the center, her blue scrub still damp, water stains marking her journey. The crowd, patients, nurses, and officials, watches her, their eyes filled with gratitude. 2 police officers, 30s, escort Paul out in cuffs, his wiry frame slumped, while a local reporter, 40s, films from the window, his camera flashing. Tanisha holds the clinic keys, handed to her by the health inspector 40s, who nods respectfully. "It's yours again, Dr. James. We'll handle the rest."
She smiles, turning to her team: Lucy, 38, the head nurse; Jamal, 35, the orderly; Shirley, 50, the receptionist; Kevin, 27, the tech; and Tamara, 29, the young nurse, all standing tall. Dr. Harold Green, 60, her retired doctor ally with gray hair, steps forward, his quiet pride evident.
"You did it,"
he says softly. Tanisha hugs him, tears mixing with the water on her face.
"We did."
MRS. Elena Cruz, 62, with arthritis, taps her cane, her voice shaky but strong.
"You saved us, doctor. My meds were running out."
The room claps, and Tamara adds,
"He was denying care to cut costs."
Tanisha's mind flashes back. Late nights securing grants, treating patients for free, once sleeping in her car to keep the clinic afloat. This was her dream, nearly destroyed by Paul's greed. Now, it's hers to reclaim. She steps to a makeshift podium, a chair pulled from the waiting room.
"Harmony is back,"
she declares, her voice steady.
"Paul's gone, but his damage isn't. We'll audit every record, reinstate staff, and add equity training. No patient gets turned away."
The crowd roars, phones capturing the moment. The inspector hands her a report, $50,000 recovered, more to trace.
"You've got support,"
he says. Shirley beams.
"What's the first step?"
Tanisha grins.
"A community day, free checkups tomorrow."
The team cheers, but a new twist emerges. The reporter calls out,
"Dr. James, will you press charges for the racial attack?"
Tanisha pauses, then nods.
"Yes. This was about power, not care. We'll fight that too."
The crowd murmurs approval, and Green adds,
"I'll testify. Saw it coming."
The camera zooms on her wet face, fierce yet hopeful, as flashbulbs pop. Outside, a van pulls up, volunteers from a local church, led by Pastor James, 55, with a kind face.
"Heard the news,"
he says.
"We're here to help."
Tanisha shakes his hand, tears welling.
"Thank you." The team starts cleaning, patients joining in, stacking supplies. Elena hands Tanisha a tissue, smiling.
"You're our angel."
Tanisha laughs.
"No, you are."
The screen pans to the clinic sign, freshly wiped, as a young patient reads a poster.
Harmony reopens. Free care day.
Upbeat music swells, fading to Tanisha's silhouette against the fog, keys in hand. The fight's won, her legacy reborn. Listeners feel the triumph, eager to share #Tanisha stands, knowing her story inspires.